Well, hi there, I'm Sandy Allnock with this month's Create in Color for MFT. And instead of doing a Christmas card, I know this video is going live in December, but I'm working on flowers. I've combined the Beautiful Bloom set with the Brilliant Blooms set. One of them has one flower, one of them has many flowers, and I've stamped them in lemon drop ink. And I only had to mask out the one flower in the middle, and I basically made my own background stamp. And these are the colors that I will be using. And I'm not going to put the colors on the screen because what I want you to think of is using whatever colors you have in your collection. Pick a light, a medium, and a dark yellow, and a light, a medium, and a dark purple. Yes, I said yellow and purple because purple is the complement to yellow, and it's great for making shadows. A lot of people will use more of an orange shadow or a brown shadow, but purple just gives it a different kind of richness. And so what I'm doing is going first with just some of the yellows along with one of the purples. I'm just using my V04 for my purple. And I'll add the other purples later, the other darker ones. But I'm adding in the center portion of the flower, the center of each petal, the purple, the darker color. If you're going to if you're going to color this in a different color of Copic marker, then choose your darkest color to go from the inside of the flower, from the place where it goes into the center of the flower, and work your way outward. Just make sure that you leave some light color on the outside petals, on the outside edges. And especially when you have one petal that's right next to another petal, you want to leave a little bit of a highlight or a little bit of color difference so they don't all kind of mush together. So leave just a very slight edge sometimes, and it'll make it look like that petal is curling just a little bit. And as I'm adding the other colors, I'm adding more color over top of the color that I just used, so that I'm getting that blend as I get from the inside to the outside of the flower. And it just gives it some really nice dimension as that develops. Now here I'm going in with my second to the darkest purple, and I'll add the third darkest later. But the second to the darkest purple, you can see already in just that little section how quickly it adds an immediate dimension to it. And it's something that I do a lot. I use really high contrasting colors. It is more challenging to blend from because I'm having to go back in and blend again so that that darkest color doesn't end up only being just kind of a big blob or a big line. Because whenever you're coloring and you're trying to shade things like flowers or something, you don't want anything to look like it's outlined, especially since I've stamped it in the lemon drop ink already anyway. When I'm doing this, I'm trying to make sure that I don't put a line all the way around the outside of every petal. You can see I'm doing just sections of it, so I'm speeding it up, and hopefully that's helping to illustrate what I'm talking about. But I'm just doing a section of each one that sets that divider line between each one of the petals, and it allows them to each look like separate petals. And then I can go in right over the purple and add the orange. If you've taken my Copic Jumpstart class, you'll know all about all this purple stuff anyway, because I talk about it a lot. It is one of my favorite colors to shade with when I'm using my yellows. But you can see how I'm getting already that dimension just by using a purple and a medium yellow, and then just starting to work toward my lighter color. And as I add the lighter colors, I'm still adding, just leaving a little tiny bit of that yellow tip on each one of the petals, because that's going to give me that dimension, that differentiation between each one of the petals. When you're coloring this much and you have this much detail going on, you can go in and add more detail in the centers, and this is where I'm going back in with an even darker purple to try to reinforce some of that, and going even darker still with the V09. What I did find though was that I had lost a little bit of my definition on my flower petals. So once I had my card already put onto a card base with a layer and everything, I'm going in with a white pen, and I'm going around just a couple of those high highlight areas on just a few of those edges, and look at the fine detail it adds in, because sometimes it's hard to get that super fine line, a real sharp line with a Copic marker. And if you're not relying on your stamped lines to divide all those petals, you need to do a little something else to do that. I use the Uniball Signo pen. And if you have trouble with that pen, a couple things to try. One is to write on your finger with it, because that sometimes heats it up and loosens up the ink inside the pen. And also, don't press really, really hard. The harder you press, the more it's pressing that ball into the paper, and the ink is not going around the ball in the nib. The finished card I'm going to leave without a sentiment for the moment, because that leaves me the ability to decide if it's going to be a sympathy card, a birthday card, a thinking of you card, and I can add my sentiment just before mailing it, or just write a message on the inside and not have a sentiment on the outside at all. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. I will see you again in 2019. Have a great holiday season and see you in the new year.